It is 23 days to the general election, and if there is one state to watch out for, it is Delta State. The governorship election in the state promises to be a tough battle, given some of the heavyweights gunning for the governorship position. So far, 3 personalities stand tall above others, which might make it a 3-horse race. Once a stronghold of the People's Democratic Party, Delta is now somewhat of a swing state, as the All Progressives Congress has been able to break in with a huge support base, making it quite tricky to predict a clear-cut winner. The candidates of the PDP, Sheriff Oborevori, that of the APC, Senator Oviomo Agege, and the candidate of ABGA, Great Ogboru, who also wields a huge support base in the state, are going to slug it out at the governorship poll come March the 11th. Who succeeds Governor Ifeanyi Okowa? We have in the studio a member of the APC, Timi Tonye. Good morning. Thank you for joining us at TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
And joining us from Abuja studio is PDP chieftain Ruben Izeze. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Right. Eyes are on Delta State, saying that Delta is somewhat of a swing state as it is now, and that the APC and ABGA have been able to break in, so to speak. But is that what you are seeing leading up to the elections?
I didn't get your name. However, let me correct an impression. When you started your analysis, you said Delta seems to be a 3-horse race for the governorship elections. Let me correct that impression. It is a 2-horse race, and it is between the PDP and all the other parties. That is the reality on ground. Forget whatever you see on the pages of the newspapers or the social media. The reality on the ground is that the governorship race in Delta State is a 2-horse race between the People's Democratic Party and the other political parties. That I can assure you of. And when you introduced my very good friend and elder brother, Timi Tonye, Honorable Timi Tonye, you introduced him as a member of the APC. The last time I checked, Honorable Timi Tonye is still a member of the People's Democratic Party. When he spoke to me yesterday when he called, he did not inform me that he had decamped to the APC. I know he's a member of the Delta Unity Group, a very strong member, but I am unaware if he has moved on to the APC. That is information you are just giving to me this morning. So, Honorable Timi Tonye, please, can you clarify that point? Are you now a member of the APC?
All right. The question is to you now.
Okay.
And you also talked to us about, he's saying it's about the governorship race is between the PDP and others.
Well, let me just thank Ruben. I think that created this comical relief in starting the conversation. Ruben, I know, is very rooted in Delta, and he knows there's a change, there's a hair of change going on in Delta. From all the local governments, you can see it. I was in PDP, quite right, and everybody knew that I've already resigned my membership of PDP, arising for some of the things that Ruben, being a comrade, has been privately complaining to me about. Yes, we are in the public space now. It's good to grandstand, but I know that Ruben is in the wrong place, and very shortly he will join us in the APC, where the wind is fast blowing.
I can assure you that I will not be grandstanding here. Our private conversations remain private.
But you mentioned,
if you want to bring it to the public space, I am confident, I am capable, I am competent to bring those conversations to the public space because we consider ourselves intellectual partners. Now here we are. We were members of the 6th Assembly. There was nothing that we discussed that is a secret. Everybody knew my stand. My stand in the 6th Assembly is unambiguous. It remains unambiguous. That assembly that you were a member of has passed. And you always called me privately to say, Surulere, take it easy. It's not everything that the hunter sees in the bush that the hunter comes out to say in the public. Farabale, you were always holding me back from pointing out my frustrations. Yes, that you did as my intellectual partner and senior. However, in this 7th Assembly, you've not been a member of the 7th Assembly. So you cannot talk about the 7th Assembly. Those private conversations are no secrets. I have brought them to the public domain so that you don't try to emotionally blackmail me that we used to have private conversations. You're not a member of the 7th Assembly.
I thought we were going to have a conversation. You actually referenced our discussion yesterday. And please, let's stick to the conversation. And don't let us begin to talk about those things that were private. Yes, conclusively, we are both in the 6th Assembly. And like I said just now, I know your position about certain things, and I know they have not changed. They are still your position, just like the way you are just saying now. But what I want to clear is that, whether it's a two-man horse race between the PDP and others is what we're trying to clear. But I can tell you, Ruben, there's a wind of change going on in Delta, and you can see it. I am an old government person, so I can do a very good comparative analysis from the days of James Sibori till now. And I know that incrementally, the quality of governance is going down. And we have some facts to buttress those ones. And I came into government to strengthen the bureaucracy as chairman of House of Assembly Service Commission. And I can tell you as I stay here now, that the bureaucracy is not what it used to be again. And you agree with me in terms of recruitment. If you are recruiting now in Delta,
I do not agree with
apart
you.
from the approval, let me finish. I'm going to give you your time.
The bureaucracy in the House of Assembly is better than it was when you left it. That I can affirm. Because the quality of the personnel I work with today is better than the quality of the personnel I met when we came into the 6th Assembly. That is a fact that is in the public domain. The number of trainings that the members of staff of the House of Assembly Service Commission,
I think that is not the facts on the ground.
Since I became a member of the Assembly from the 6th Assembly to the 7th Assembly, is more than all the cumulative trainings they attended under your leadership, your two-term leadership as chairman of the House of Assembly Service Commission.
I was 7 years as chairman of the commission.
The quality of governance in your time. The quality of governance in your time as chairman of the commission is not the same now. It is better.
That is not the facts on the ground.
You can find that.
That is not the facts on the ground, Ruben.
You are not there anymore.
No, I know what is happening there more than you.
And I can tell you that the quality
I know what is happening there more than you.
Because they have been exposed to more training.
No, you are grandstanding. Let us face the facts.
As chairman.
Let's face the facts, Ruben.
Let us face the facts of governance.
Let us stick with the facts. It's not to be grandstanding.
All right.
When was the last time you have serious training in the commission?
As chairman
Honorable
of the House of Assembly Service Commission.
All right, gentlemen, we need to focus on the issue.
Let's
so that we can make
if you want to
judicious
talk about your
use of
candidate,
the time.
I'll talk about my candidate.
No, let's face the issues.
So that we can make
yes. I think I want to ask you guys questions.
Yes.
You are a defective
Don't take us to the history of your stewardship as chairman of the House of Assembly Service Commission.
You are a defective from PDP.
Yes.
And the issue has been about what we call the DUG.
Yes.
The Denver, sorry, not the Denver, sorry.
Delta
Denver
Unity
is
Group.
where I always go. The Delta Unity Group.
Yes.
What is the nature of the DUG now? Some people say it is with PDP. Some people say, no, the DUG has now moved. And some people say that people like you who defected are actually on the periphery of the DUG. How would you respond to that? Okay,
thank you very much. The DUG, like you stated, is extremely democratic organization and a pressure group. What we did in the DUG is that there is nothing as a decision there that wasn't discussed. We sat down when we started in DUG. Our decision was who can give us good governance in Delta State. We audited all the governorship candidates. We investigated their pedigree, their background. But unfortunately for the other governorship candidates, they were not able to even convince us. But there is a gentleman called David Edevi. He was able to convince us with what he called the modernizing Delta agenda. And this is David Edevi's manifesto. It's very clear. We're able to read it, and we identified with him as the person that can give us a good Delta. All his visions were articulated and captured there. But in the PDP primaries, David Adewe did not make it, and he believed that there are still some chances for him to become the governor through the courts. He couldn't make it through the courts. And we sat down as DUG and said, okay, what do we do? What we are after is for the good of Delta, for the modernization of Delta, for the progress of Delta. And it's beyond party lines. Some people decided that they wanted to stay with the PDP, and some of us said no. We have looked at the governorship candidates all through, and we discovered that Senator Ifeanyi Okowa has a well-articulated program, which he captured in his EDGE program, and this is manifesto. If they have a manifesto that is well-articulated and organized like this,
in the public space.
With it.
Now,
that is what we are satisfied with.
Mr.
That.
Sam,
so
Mr. Sam, I would have to come in
within
here.
Within the PDP.
Mr. Sam, I have to come in here.
Hold
Mr.
on.
We will come to you. Let him finish, then we'll come to you.
And a lot of people that moved are quite experienced, old in government, and we decided to identify. That doesn't remove the fact that there are some DUG members that believe in the philosophy of Obi. There are some of them that says that they want to stay in the party. But we still have a common BOT, we still have a common executive council. That is how the DUG runs. So there is no conflict in duty, but common understanding for people to, in a very seamless manner, move to where they want to move.
The question I also asked is whether you... What is the mainstream? Is it the mainstream? Yeah, we'll come back to it. Is the mainstream? Where is the mainstream of DUG?
There's no mainstream. DUG is fluid. We have DUG in all both the very strong and critical people are in the APC.
All right, Honorable Izeze, you wanted to make a comment. Go ahead.
Yes. I needed to quickly put a lie to the fallacious representation that the DUG sat down and interfaced with all the aspirants.
But he's not a member of DUG.
Hold on, let me talk.
Non-existent.
Honorable Izeze, as you make your statement, I would appeal that you watch the choice of words you use. Honorable Izeze, if you can hear me, I'm saying as you make your statement, I would appreciate your choice of words.
I have not slandered anybody yet. Don't worry, I know the choice of words I am using. I have not slandered anyone yet, and I will not do that. The point I am making is that it is not true. If you would rather have that,
you are not a member.
Let him talk.
It is not true that the DUG existed and interfaced with all the aspirants within the PDP that contested for the governorship ticket. The DUG metamorphosed after the primaries of the PDP. Most of the, in fact, all those of them in the DUG were backers of the aspiration of Honorable David Adewe, which is not a problem. In a party as large as the PDP, it was normal for people to have different interests, which is what politics is all about. Now, when the primaries had held, and the primaries produced the Right Honorable Sheriff Oborewori as the winner, based on the provisions of the amended Electoral Act, that his new principal put his hand on his chest and said, "Nami Raitam." Those amendments threw up a lot of surprises across the state and the nation. The Honorable Timitoye was a victim of those amendments because he contested the primaries in his party and lost, just as I contested in my own constituency and lost because of those amendments in the Electoral Act of 2022. Having said that, the DUG then emerged because they believed very strongly, and that's the point I want to make here. There is the notion that certain persons are more intellectually inclined, academically qualified, groomed for the office of the governor. That notion is not true. It is a misrepresentation. Every man created by God is created and born equal before God and the Constitution. So long as that man meets the constitutional requirements, he is qualified to vie, dream, and aspire to any office in the land. And that is the point we're making here. For them, they sit down in their closets and decide on behalf of the rest of the people. They claim to be the intellectual, and in fact, their arrogance so much that they said the intellectual wing of the PDP have moved to the APC. And I asked, who are the intellectuals that have moved to the APC? And they said it was a tsunami. At best, what can be described to be happening now is just the devil's dust. It cannot be described as a tsunami. A tsunami is a geological phenomenon that involves a volcanic eruption or an earthquake beneath the ocean or on the subsurface of the sea. And you call a few persons who are aggrieved, genuinely, rightly or wrongly aggrieved, who have left the party to pursue their political aspirations under a new platform as a tsunami.
I think it's actually a misnomer for somebody that is not a member of an organization to claim authority of what is happening within it. We have other pressure groups in Delta States. You have the one you call political vanguard. We don't bother ourselves with that. And we wonder why you people are worried about what is happening in DUG. If it's not something that is strong enough to create the confusion in you. But again, let me quickly say again, that for the purpose of emphasis, that the DUG does not take any decision without discussing it. It's an internal thing. And for Honorable Ruben Ibezeze, that is not a member, to be saying all of this, I wonder where he gets his facts from. I haven't said that. There are some members of DUG that left. Let me profile them for you to know. You are the person that is talking about intellectual arrogance. We are going to talk about the antecedents. There is a lady called Almona Issei. He was a 3 times commissioner with 3 different governors, military governor, and a 3 times member of House of Reps. Rooted in experience, he moved. You have Judith Namuto, a trained 1971 scientist from Ibadan University. So if you are saying those are not intellectuals, I want to know your definition of intellectualism. And former commissioner, a BOT member of PDP. There is Danre Eju, who was a 3 times member of House of Reps. You have about 3-4 speakers that moved with us. So we are not claiming to be what we are not. And we are not saying, but you see, you people sit down and begin to worry yourself about what is happening in DUG. You have made all your points that it's like a dot. Elections is going to be around the corner. Let's wait for the result of the election. But what we are seeing is that DUG has become a source of worries. And that shouldn't worry you people. There was a declaration of DUG in Ndukwa not too long ago, and people saw the crowd. And some of the people that came from government as agents, we saw them, they went back and they know what happened there. So the DUG is intact, we have no problem in DUG, and thousands of people like this will not create division in DUG. They will not.
You talked about your candidate, Oborevori, and that his candidature is foolproof. But there are legal issues that are still hanging over his head. What do you respond to this?
I don't know what you mean by bigger issues. As far as
legal issues.
Doctrine of res judicata. Legal issues, yes, okay. As far as I'm concerned, the doctrine of res judicata has rested the issue of David Edewie for good. There's another man who bought the forms, resides in London, who bought the forms to contest the primaries, as was his right. He contested, scored 0 votes because he could not secure a vote from even the delegates from his own ward. And as we know, which is usual, he's been sponsored by a third party to litigate in court. He has already been awarded costs against him to the tune of 9 million naira by the Court of Appeal of Asaba. Yesterday, he was in court in Asaba, and our own candidate made himself available and testified in court. The only body that can assert that a document is forged is the body that is authorized to issue that document. They keep beating a dead horse, running from pillar to post, forum shopping, looking for a reason to say the certificate, the WAEC certificate presented by Sheriff Oberewori is the forged document. WAEC has affirmed that document emanated from it. The only body that could have at least given them a case would have been WAEC by saying that document is forged. Moreover, those are pre-election matters. We are moving to the elections proper. INEC has published the documents that he filled in his forms. And the WAEC certificate is not one of those documents that he filled in the forms. They should wait until the elections happen. They are only hoping and relying on the court judgment. You know, they are experts in using litigation to acquire public office.
All right, let's come back to the studio now. I am looking at your candidate's Edge manifesto, and yes, something that caught my attention here. It says, from one of the parts, let me quickly read it. It says, rather than invest in our wealth in our people and modernize our public infrastructure, all we have is constantly growing fiscal recklessness, waste of public resources, corruption, and mediocrity while deploying cheap propaganda and lies to cover them up. Indeed, governance in Delta, all about the politics of exclusion, clannishness, impunity, corruption, and painting God. Now, are we where we should be? How does he intend to reposition the state and take the people to where they are supposed to be?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we're going back to the issues now. In Delta State, you can do a survey, sectorial survey, from the health sector to the education sector, down to even sports. I will give you the first example. Between Elele and Ugeli, you have only one general hospital, and that is the one in Patani.
Sorry, I've lost you guys.
On that fast-track road. And the whole of the health center in Patani have no facility, nothing. The only thing that is being developed in Patani General Hospital is the mortuary. There is no other thing that is developing there. And as it is in Patani, that is it. That is the way it is in almost all the health sector in Delta State. Even Ogara, the specialist hospital, is a shadow of itself. I'm talking about the health sector. Mm-hmm. Now, if you come to education, the primary education in Delta is collapsed. Same for secondary education. Well, we have what they call the university's education system in Delta, which led to the establishment of some additional universities. But in terms of spread, you have two of them in the north, Delta North. You have one name changing in Uzoro. But the whole of the riverine axis, which we are talking about the Shekiri axis, the Jaw axis, and even the oil-producing Unukwa axis, there's no single tertiary institution. So, apart from the fact that the primary education has collapsed, you have the secondary education, you don't talk about them again because there are no teachers. The infrastructure have gone down. The last time we have a lot of infrastructural upgrade in Delta State was when Dr. Oduan developed the secondary education in Delta State, when you have the modern schools all over and primary education. That is in education. We won the sports festival not too long ago, but it was done by what he called hosting to win. A lot of the athletes were brought from outside. We know them. I'm a member of the Sports Council. I was the first vice president of the Badminton Federation of Nigeria for 9 years. So we know what is going on. Then in terms of road infrastructure that you want to talk about, we have a shy bridge, what I call a shy bridge on the interchange when you enter Delta State. Apart from that bridge, all the roads that have been done have collapsed. That is what you have in Delta. And that is why Ovioma Agege says it will come in to do a total overhaul of the system. And in Delta, if you talk about the human capacity development, you'll be hearing about the shouting of even the retirees. These are things you see on the street of Delta every day.
Pension.
The pensioners are not being paid. There is no training, no retraining programs in Delta State. So that is what we have in Delta State. And that is why Ove is saying in his manifesto, which you can track, which you can hold him responsible for. You can talk to him even when he becomes the governor to say, you have a document in our front. And before I even leave that, let me talk about when I got to the House of Assembly, because I'd like to talk about that. I gave the governor of the state what we called the need assessment of Patani people. We went around the whole 16 community in Patani, and all of them told us what they wanted. Nothing was done to Patani people. Let Ruben tell me how many projects have been commissioned in Ughelli South, where I came from. But for Patani, I can tell you there was no single commissioning of any program, any project for the past 8 years of Okowa's government. That is the truth, and that's a fact, and they speak for themselves.
I guess we'll come back to Mr. Honorable Izeze much later because connection challenges. All right, so we have to stick with the studio conversation. So let's also perhaps look at the core sectors that your candidate will be looking at in terms of talking about job creation. Yes. What are his plans? In terms of security, what are his plans? How does he intend to make Delta State a competitive economy?
Yes. You see, the Delta is an oil-producing state. But the fact that we are oil producing have made governance and leadership of government very lazy. So what Ovie is trying to do, or we do when it comes to the government, is to find a way to improve the IGR. Because you must run, and it's been known that in places where you don't have, and where you have resources, development is very slow. And people like to talk about Asiwaju Bola Tinubu all the time. If he had not had the contingency arrangement when the president, sitting president at that time, withdrew some of his resources, he wouldn't have been able to run. So the first thing Ovie is telling us is that he must, as a matter of fact, improve on the IGR to make sure that with or without the resources or allocation from the federal, Delta will still run. That is the first thing. Secondly, he believes that Deltans must be properly educated, the human resource development, so that people can have the capacity and strength to stand on their own. And that cannot be done without security.
All right. We'll come back to that. We have Honorable Izeze on now. Honorable, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I must register this protest. This is absolutely unfair. For the past 10, 12 minutes, he's been saying everything. He's been saying your equipment here failed, and we've been calling, and nobody has been responding to us. Your equipment here failed.
Mr. Honorable Izeze, there were challenges, and that was what was being addressed. So you can go ahead with your response.
I didn't hear anything he said. The only thing I heard him say was
Honorable Izeze.
And under the leadership, of course, of the speaker, under the speakership.
Yes, I understand where you are coming from.
So,
but I don't know whether you still remember this, the fact that we gave this to the governor. We gave a need assessment to the governor, and we told him what Patani needed. This is the need assessment we gave to him, and we articulated this. And on this issue of the health center in Patani, we know the number of times we have engagements. I cannot bend the hand of the governor. And if because of this I said I'm not going to be part of his administration again, I think I should be commended for that. And again, we are now talking about common assets. Common assets like the Ogara General Hospital. We know where it was when it started. And you remember that you served Governor Oduah directly. And you know that Governor Oduah, before he left, even participated in organ transplant in Ogara. What is happening in Ogara now? And you are talking about...
have the facts for that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What of the roads he mentioned that have been done?
No, I don't know what is happening I don't know about what is happening there.
Yes.
People can come to the television and say all kind of facts. But I am telling you what is happening in Ogara. And I'm telling you, I was the chairman of health. And I remember that we took this up separately with the governor of what is happening there in Ogara.
Of the assembly and
so
of course,
you want to start fighting
where
you want to fight.
I am here and I'm available.
So that is the point.
Well, there's one question I want to.
Let us talk about our respective candidates.
Hold on.
Now that we have agreed that you are in the APC and you have come with an agenda which you call edge or precipice, as the case may be, an agenda that you say will solve all the problems that you have identified. As a serving member, you could not bend the hand of a governor. Now you are bringing an edge agenda that you believe will solve all the problems that you have identified. Let me put it to
It is
you.
well articulated.
We
It's
are
something
all
that
in
is
this
not for
business,
everybody.
and we've been in
Where
this
is
business
your own
from
agenda?
1998.
How do you
If
want
you
to
keep
wrong
to
government?
raise that,
Toye, and
there is a
hold on.
certain
How do you want to wrong
by
government?
certain persons
hold
that
on,
except
hold
we
on.
belong to a
Hold on,
particular
Hold
area,
on, gentlemen.
you
Hold
have
on,
no right to
gentlemen.
govern
I
Delta State.
have a
And we want
question
to put
because
a
we are
light
running
to
out
that
of time.
notion.
Yes.
Hold on.
Sheriff
Hold on.
is a street boy.
We are saying
He has
yes,
street
the
credibility.
case.
Hold
local
on.
content,
Hold on.
born,
Hold
bred,
on.
and raised
The
in the
question
Warri
I want
area.
to ask.
He has seen the challenges of the Warri people
He says,
because he
hold
has
on.
lived with them all along. And he is
all right,
ready
we
to
have to wrap
give them
this
more.
up
His
here
one
now
agenda,
because,
which he brought out almost a year
Honorable
ago.
Ruben Izeze, we have to
But
let
at the same
things go now. We have to end the interview here now because of time. We must thank you, PDP chieftain Ruben Izeze, and then a member of the APC, Timi Tonye, in the studio for your time on the program. We'll definitely come back to continue this conversation some other time.